Being loved can look so many different ways. Love can manifest itself in so many different ways. And the way it manifests may be more appropriate in one moment than in another. And I would say, everybody wants to be loved, or everybody seeks to feel loved. But perhaps somebody may feel more loved in experiencing a lack thereof. How does that make sense? Why am I saying that? Why might somebody feel more loved and experiencing a lack thereof? I recall when I was experiencing depression, I had this feeling of being alone, being unloved, misunderstood. I reveled in listening to music that affirmed this, that validated me in that experience. And as much as I didn't want to have that experience, that's what I was experiencing. And when I resisted that feeling, when I tried so hard to feel loved when I didn't feel loved, this created a feeling of agony, of pain, of suffering. When I was able to bring myself back into this experience of, you know what? I don't really feel it. And I accept that about myself. As soon as I made that shift within me, it was bittersweet, but I felt a lot less pressure, a lot less tension, a lot less resistance, a lot less contrast. And you might have people showering you in love, telling you they love you, telling you they're here for you. And this can be something that you're experiencing whether or not you have depression. What is that? What is that feeling, that familiar feeling that we can all relate to, right? You may not feel loved no matter how many people attempt to portray it, no matter how many times somebody tells you or even shows you. Because your experience of what that means to you, of what that is, may be different than the idea that somebody has in their mind as to what is a suitable form of love to give so that you may feel loved, or so that another may feel as though they have provided you with the love that you wish to feel, that you seek to feel, that you wish to receive from another person. We play these roles in life. There is a idea of what that role is supposed to look like on a societal level. And zoom in a little bit and you look within the familial circle, the way that a family works and operates, you might see different dynamics, different ways in which, just like it's accepted within the society, within a family, there are certain forms of love or expressions of love that may seem ideal, suitable, correct, just the way that is accepted amongst a family unit. What is your experience of love? What do you feel is something that makes you genuinely feel loved? That when somebody behaves a certain way towards you, maybe it can be as subtle as the way that somebody speaks to you, the way that somebody looks at you, the way that you feel around a person. How do you wish to feel when you are receiving love? And when you think about things relationally, when you start to open the door to relationships, which is such a big part of our human experience, it's where things can get a little bit sticky. Are we able to consider another person and the way that they seek to feel love, or the way that will allow them to feel that way, as well as the way that they're able to convey or express love to you? So you might not experience the love that they are giving you in the way that they had intended. In the way that it was being viewed from their own individual perspective. And when we dwell in a place of feeling unloved, without a sense of acceptance, without the experience of acceptance, we create negative fields of energy. We create resistance. This affects us in our body in different ways. This can get stored in our body in different ways. This emotion, this negative emotion. And of course, over time, as I've shared with you guys, this is going to result in some form of dis-ease. We might call it depression. We might call it anxiety. We might call it a multitude of names. Something that I've learned in supporting others with depression through my own experience, as I learned how to support myself. Because it really did get to that point for me where I did not like being alive, and I was sick of it. But I felt trapped. I felt stuck in that state of being. You might not feel as though you are being loving enough if you don't show up in the ways that you think is the correct way to show up for another person. But you are not the only one involved. There are other beings involved. And when you're in a relationship, it is of the utmost importance to recognize that that is what it is. It's a relationship. So if somebody is experiencing depression, let's say you're in a supportive role, if somebody is experiencing depression, or you're always going to be in a supportive role, because if you're experiencing depression, you have to wake up every day. You have to live life every day with this condition. And so you have to support yourself through that. And you have to support your life because you're alive. So if you're supporting another person, or if you're supporting yourself as you exist in this supportive role in relationship to depression, whether you're the one experiencing it or whether somebody else is experiencing it, question, consider, open up your mind to what is appropriate, to what is needed, and to the ways that love might appear, the ways that love can be expressed. To become curious of how another person may want to experience that. Maybe it will be more loving, just like it was for me, for you yourself, in support of you yourself, to allow yourself to be in that energy of feeling unloved, to acknowledge it. Before we can create a harmonious environment or a loving environment, there needs to be some degree of acknowledgement that there is a lack of love. And there being a lack of love doesn't necessarily mean that, you're not buying somebody chocolates and telling them that you love them 24/7, or showing them in the ways that you think even they might like to be shown that love. Love doesn't always feel so lovely, right? I personally would much rather somebody be honest with me, even if it can be hurtful to my concept of myself, to show me something about myself. It's up to me, or it's up to you, to assess whether or not this is an accurate representation of how you feel within your heart, how you feel authentically. Nonetheless, it is important for me, it matters to me that I am able to be in an honest relationship. I would rather know the facts, know the truth, than feel unloved or feel unsure. So if I'm behaving in a way that is harmful to myself or to another, it matters that I become aware so that I can make adjustments. Of course, still considering self, but being open and loving enough to understand that certain things are not personal. It feels more receivable when there is a certain level of honesty. You might not want to hurt somebody. Somebody might buy you a chocolate that you don't like for 10 years straight. And every single time you say, man, I love it. Thank you. But every time you did not love it. Every time you found it annoying, right? Over time, it just became annoying. So instead of saying, I actually really don't like that, that honesty, even though it might hurt, is an act of love from my perspective. Somebody might rather you lie to them and tell them that you love it. But in my experience of love, I don't feel as though that is my version of what authentic love is. So if somebody expected me to lie every time as to make you feel better, that experience itself makes me feel the opposite of loved. Makes me feel more like I either have to be deceitful or I'm being deceived. You see the difference in the energy of that? And I speak about this because depression, being the global epidemic that it is, being something that must be addressed, something that I love to explore because I needed to get out of that situation. And so I assessed myself, I assessed the situation. This sort of clarity, this sort of in-depth exploration is something that I enjoy. It's not always the easier conversations that need to be had when we address these sorts of things. And things over time, when they don't get addressed, become more complicated. They can become more hurtful. They can become way more serious. And it doesn't need to be that serious. You deserve to feel loved. You are worthy of love. What does that look like for you? We don't have to change anybody who's experiencing depression. We don't have to pull them out of that situation. If it is unhealthy for you to be in a supportive role at any point where in which you might feel like you're overextending yourself, pull back. If that makes somebody feel unloved, not cared for, fixating on the lack of a solution will only perpetuate this. And I've spoken about this in a lot of my videos. I want you to think about the most impossible outcome, preferred outcome, the best case scenario, it being the most impossible thing in your mind. Think of just the most far out result, possibility, as it pertains to any particular area of your life, whether it be about depression or a pink poodle walking down the right side of the street with 2 scrunchies on both its ears at exactly 3:32 p.m. tomorrow. Think of something just completely far out there. And realize that although something seems on the surface impossible to find a solution to, just this is a limitation that is in your mind. This is a projection that you make. And as honest and as true as you're being in that experience, in that expression, in that feeling. When you truly believe, when you truly think that nothing can change, you are correct. But when you truly think that something can change and something will change, you are also correct. Imagine you have the opportunity, which you do, to choose. What would you choose? Would you choose the outcome in which it's hopeless? I know for myself, I could only choose that it was hopeless for so long before I went crazy. Straight up. I had to say to myself, you know what? It is hopeless. That's why it might be so off-putting to somebody who isn't necessarily experiencing a certain level of depression to see somebody say, you know what? I could die right now and I just wouldn't care. This, for me, doesn't trigger me because I've been there. I've woken up every single day telling myself I really don't give a shit if I'm alive or if I'm dead today or tomorrow or the next day. I don't care. I want to die. I would love that. That would be amazing. And I reveled in that energy. I allowed myself to feel that. Because if I didn't, I wasn't being loving to myself. Why? Because I wasn't being honest with myself. That's where I was. And everybody wanted me to pretend and act like I wasn't there. And I was. So you're fighting yourself. You're fighting yourself against what everybody wants you to be. I encourage you to just allow yourself to feel into the possibility of things looking up for anything in your life, for anybody. It does not have to be about depression. In a world where this is a global epidemic, probably relatable on some level. There's nothing that we cannot do together. Just because somebody rejects assistance doesn't mean that assistance is not there and on the way. Perhaps it won't come from you. God works in mysterious ways. Things are always working themselves out.